Hello, welcome to IRA Shore's no-nonsense piano method. You're now on the road to learning how to play piano in just 5 easy steps. Whether you have a grand piano, spinet, or electric keyboard, whether you're 8 or 80, male or female, doctor or lawyer, gardener or housekeeper, this method is fun and this method is for you. Remember, you'll learn how to play piano in only 5 steps.
I always wanted to know how to play the piano. It was a dream for me to know how, and I now know how to play. I love it. It's simple and easy and fun.
IRA Shore's method enabled me to play the popular songs that I listen to on the radio every day, and I didn't have to start off by learning Pop Goes the Weasel.
I love to play the piano, and I knew how to play the piano, but that method, the no-nonsense of IRA Shore, helped me how to improvise using my left hand and learning the chords, and I love it.
Let's get started. Here's your instructor, Ira Shore. As a performer and piano teacher for almost 30 years, Ira has taught hundreds of students. He dedicates this tape to those students who will never play on stage at Carnegie Hall, but who love playing piano. And we believe that you will too. So get ready, here we go. Step 1 of the Ira Shore no-nonsense method of learning how to play piano.
Hi, let's get started with the no-nonsense piano method. And what is the no-nonsense piano method? It's being able to sit down and enjoy and relax and play all of your favorite music and sound so good, so quick. You'll learn improvisation, you'll learn left hand, you'll learn right hand notes, and so much more. So let's go. Let's learn the musical alphabet first. Now, the musical alphabet is the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Okay, I'm going to go over to the visualizer now and show you that the notes are divided into white keys and black keys, okay? The black keys are in sets of 2s and 3s. 2, 3, 2, and 3s, and 2s and 3s. Now, some of you may be fortunate enough to have a grand piano like this, and that's also set up in 2s and 3s, and that has 88 keys. A lot of you are going to have the electronic keyboards, and they come in various sizes, all right? Now, they're in 2s and 3s and 2s and 3s also, all right? They're also divided into white keys and black keys. Now we're going to learn the keys again. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now, we're not going to start with A, and we're not going to start with B. We're going to start with C. On a standard keyboard, middle C is in the middle of the keyboard. If you have an electronic keyboard, it's not going to matter what C. Okay, now, this is the note of C. Right? C is right below the 2 black keys. C, and after C comes the letter D. Then, right above the 2 black keys, we have an E. Right below the 3 black keys, we have the letter F, G. Now, there's no letter H. We go back to the letter A, okay? The letter we didn't get at the beginning. And that's A, B, C. Now, once again, you may have an electronic keyboard. Just sit anywhere and learn these letters. Okay, so let's go back to the letters again, and we'll do them like this. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Now, the good of having a tape at home is that you can pull it out whenever you want, stop it whenever you want, and just practice what you want at a time, period, okay? So now, we're going to take the notes that we just learned on the piano keyboard, and we're going to relate them to the music staff. Now, that's what music is written on. A music staff. And a music staff looks like this. Okay? This is a music staff. All right? A music staff is divided into measures. And bar lines separate the measures. This is a bar line. This is a bar line. And the space between the bar lines is called a measure. Actually, when you're going to learn the left hand, or chords, or bass clef, whatever. All of this together is called a grand staff, okay? When you have 2 staffs together like this, we call that the grand staff. All right, now, we learned the notes on the keyboard, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Let's go back to the first line. We're going to learn the lines and the spaces. There are 5 lines, 3, 4, 5, on the right hand. This is a treble clef sign, and whenever you see that treble clef sign, you're going to use your right hand, okay? So if a note is going through the line, we call it a line note. It's on the first line, counting from the bottom to the top, all right? So we have E, G, B, D, F. Now it's kind of hard to remember those letters at the beginning, so we have a little saying, and we're going to use this saying to remember the letters. Every good boy does fine. And you can say that at the beginning while you're learning the letters. E, every, G, good, B, boy, D, does fine. Okay, here's what the notes look like on the keyboard. E. Now, you're going to have to, some of you are going to have to always refer back to middle C. So you go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Luckily, I have a big spread here on my finger so I can do this. E, G, B, D, F. Okay, here it is on the staff. E, G, B, D, and F. Okay? Now the spaces are F, A, C, E. And there's 4 spaces, and that spells out the word face. Okay? And that's a good way to remember the spaces. F, A, C, E. Okay? And here's what they look like. F, A, C, E. Okay? Now, we're going to take those notes that we learned on the keyboard, now we know them on the staff, and we're going to look at some music to see how we read notes. But before we do that, I just want to show you and explain to you a little of how the piano was derived. Actually, the piano was derived from the harp and the lyre. Way back, and you pluck the strings with your finger. Now, along in 1709, an Italian named Cristofori came along and developed the principle of a hammer hitting the strings, and you could play that loud or soft. So therefore, we called that the pianoforte. And so actually, you were playing the soft loud. And in time, of course, we got rid of the forte and we just called it a piano. But when you hit a note, this is what you get. You only see this part, but actually all of this goes into it. Okay? Now I'm going to mix up the notes a little for you and show you that you can already play your first song. Okay? Let's go back to the visualizer here. And let's start with the letter note of D. C, D. And then let's go up to A here, okay? C, D, E, F, G, A. Okay, now we have a D, another D, and 3 A's. Okay, now some of you may already realize you're playing your first song. You're playing the melody to Scarborough Fair. Here we go, look. Okay? Now, let's take the music of Scarborough Fair, your 1A. I'll get that over here. Okay? And actually practice reading notes. Okay? Now, remember what we said about the measures? This is measure number 1. They're numbered. Measure number 2, measure number 3, etc. There's a little number at the top of each measure. Okay? Now, let's disregard for now the kind of notes we have, okay? Because in measure 1, we have a white note with a black note. They all have stems on them. In measure number 3, you see a little dot, you see a little flag. That has to do with the rhythm of the notes, which we will learn. But you know, most of us want to just be able to play the music that we know, because that's fun. Oh, excuse me. And also, that's the music that you want to be able to go to the music store and just buy. So rhythmically, you're going to play these songs correct because you kind of know the sound of these songs. So, the first thing to do is to practice just getting acquainted with the keyboard, and that you can do anywhere, okay? And then after you've learned the keyboard, practice just reading the different notes. Take any piece of music and just practice D, D, F, A, every E, F, E, and just say the saying, F, A, C, D, and continue doing that for a while. And again, use your cardboard keyboard or an electronic keyboard, no matter what. And then try playing the notes on the keyboard, and you're already playing, okay? Now, one more thing before we finish with step number 1. Fingering is very important. In piano, your thumbs are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay? Your thumbs are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's very important to use the correct fingering because that will enable you to go smoothly over the keys and play the notes correctly. In the music, look at measure number 1 of 1A of Scarborough Fair. You'll see a little 1 under the letter, okay? That's fingering. In measure 2, we have a little 5. So try to use the correct fingering as much as you can, and from time to time you're going to hear me tell you to sit up, okay? Because that's important too, and I'll explain that. So practice saying the letters, playing the letters, reading the letters, and I'll see you in step number 2, where we'll learn left-hand chords and dessert.
Review. Step 1. Introduction to the piano. Number 1. The piano has 88 keys. Number 2. The piano has its own musical alphabet. Number 3. These are called notes. They are written on the music staff. Number 4. This staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces. The notes on the lines are E, G, B, D, F. The notes on the spaces are F, A, C, E. Number 5. Remember your fingering. This makes moving around the keyboard easier.
Hi, welcome back to step number 2 of my no-nonsense, sometimes a little nonsense piano method. Actually, I'm sitting here slumped over just to show you this is not how you want to sit at the piano. Even though I have a nice comfortable chair here, you at home probably have a piano bench, and it's so important to sit up straight at all times because the longer you sit up straight, the longer you'll be able to sit at the piano and practice. And practice just short periods at a time, okay? So your neck doesn't give way and your shoulders don't give way and you're going to walk away from the piano not even realizing why, but that's why, because we tend to always want to just bend over. So from time to time, you'll hear me tell you, sit up. And of course, here I'm sitting with another keyboard, and you can use this anywhere. You don't even have to be near a piano keyboard to sit and use one of these, okay? Let's go over and learn the bass clef notes. Now, I know some of you don't want to learn the bass clef notes, but you may never have to use bass clef notes. And that's where we come in with a no-nonsense method of playing. It's using chords instead of bass clef. It's improvising, okay? Of course, I think of chords as dessert. And here's my little dessert, okay? Actually, let's go over to 1A of Scarborough Fair, and let's look at the music of Scarborough Fair. If you've noticed in measure 2, there's bass clef. Now, bass clef is using left hand, all right? Whenever you see notes on the bottom, it's bass clef. I'm going to show you that up here on the visualizer, okay? This is a bass clef sign. Remember, this was a treble clef sign, and we used your right hand. Now we're going to use your left hand to play the bass clef notes, okay? There's not many bass clef notes in 1A of Scarborough Fair, but they are there, and we're going to learn them right now. Okay, the notes on the lines of the bass clef are now, they look just like the right hand, however, they have different letter names, okay? This is a G, B, D, F, and an A, okay? Now, to remember that saying, we're going to play and use the saying good, boys, do, fine, always, okay? Now, all of the bass clef notes are below middle C, okay? They're down in here. These are the bass clef notes, all right? Anything from middle C up is the right hand notes. But going back to the bass clef, we have a G, B, D, F, and an A. Okay, now the spaces are, and again, there's the same 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the same spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if the note sits in a space, it's a space note. And this is an A, C, E, G. So we have all cows eat grass, and that's how you can remember it. A, C, E, G, all cows eat grass. And then we have this note, which is B, which is right below middle C. And of course, then there's middle C. And then B. So we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Now let's go to the music of 1A of Scarborough Fair and look at measure 2. You'll see the first note in measure 2 of 1A of Scarborough Fair is a D, good boys do, followed by an E, all cows eat, then an F, good boys do fine. Now if you notice, they just go up. So you're really not having to, once you get the first note, they just go up. Let's look at measure 6. We have a D, and then two notes played together, F and A. D, F and A. If the notes are sitting on top of each other or below each other, they're played together at the same time. Okay? One more short thing here that I notice on the right hand, on measure 8 to measure 9, we see a curved line under two notes that are the same sound. That's called a tie. And a curved line under two notes that are the same is called a tie. If you were counting this piece out, you would count all of that out. For you, it just means to hold it a little longer. You do not play the second note of A there. In other words, we have the first A, hold it, do not play this second A. Of course, you'd hear that when you're playing the song. Let's go back to measure 12 now of the bass clef. And we have a good boys do F, fine, F, G, A. Okay? F, G, A. And here's what that looks like written on the bass clef. F, here it is on the keyboard. G, here it is, using this as middle C. And then A. So we have an F, G, and A. Okay, now there's only one more measure here in measure 14, which is the same as measure 6. We have a D, good boys do, and followed by two of the same notes, F and A. D, F, and A. Okay, enough of bass clef. There's two ways you can play, and that is to not ever have to use bass clef again. You can just play chords. Chords is dessert. They're fun. That's where you can embellish and improvise and just make things up. Now, most popular music has chord symbols on top of it. Just like Scarborough Fair, if you'll look at the top of measure 1, we see a little DM. Okay? Look at measure 2, it says DM. Measure 3, it says CMAJ. Now, little MIN means minor. MAJ means major. Now, I wrote the chords at the top of your music. To get a D minor chord, you're going to play the letters D, F, and A with your left hand. So then why did I learn bass clef? Okay, this is in place of bass clef, all right? In order to get a D minor chord with your left hand, you're going to play the letters D, F, and A. And here's what it looks like up on the visualizer. D, F, and A. Now, there's hundreds of chords, okay? There's many different kinds of chords. In this song, there's only 4 chords, and they're either minor or major. And there's no difference of the way you play them. All you have to know is in a D minor chord, you look for the letter D. And you're using your 5th finger, your 3rd, and your 1st finger, and you play them all together and play them right below middle C, okay? This is a D minor chord. All right? Let's try playing that a few times. Again and again. Okay? Now we're going to go to a C major chord. All we're going to do is take our fingers and bring them all down, and we have this. Actually, I'm using the wrong fingering just so I can show you better on the white keys here, all right? Here's a C chord. Then we're going to go up to a D minor chord. And then we're going to go back down to a C major chord, okay? Later on, you'll see that there is a difference in the way you play a major and a minor chord, but not in this song, okay, which is quite helpful. Then we're going to go to a G major chord, by going C, D, E, F, G. So with your little finger, you're always looking for the letter and playing every other white key. This is a G major chord. Okay? Now, most music is, first of all, comes in a simplified form and also has the chord symbols at the top of each measure, okay? Just like this song does. All right? Now, instead of bass clef, we're going to just play the melody with the right hand. Now I'm going to add the chord, every measure, and I'm going to sit up. Now measure 5, I have an F chord. Now you notice in measure 6 there's bass clef, but I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to play a chord because it's more fun. And continuing. Measure 12 has bass clef, but I'm just going to play a chord. Continuing. Now for some of you, if you think I'm going a little too fast, that's all right. Just take the tape out and practice what you want, okay? Let me go back and just play the bass clef measures in 2, 6, 12, 14, and that's it, okay? Here's measure 2, not using a chord, but I'm going to play the bass clef on the left hand, and on the right hand I'm going to use the treble clef. Here we go. Measure 2 of Scarborough Fair. Here's the right hand. Here's the left hand. Now I'm going to play them together. Measure 6, I'm going to go to a D. It says, every good boy does. And the bass clef is good boys do. Of course, if you don't want to play bass clef, don't. Just play the chord. Okay, measure 12. We have an F, G, and an A with an A, G, and an F. So we're going to play them together. Now, if we don't want to play the bass clef, all we need to do is play the chord. As soon as you play a chord, you're not having to read the bass clef. So you have instant music. You're already playing your melody and your chord and just having a good time. You know, I just wanted to tell you a little about the origin of Scarborough Fair. Actually, you heard it made popular in a movie back in the 50s, but you know, it actually goes way further back than that. It was actually a folk song, okay, which goes back a long time ago. And in fact, a lot of songs come out of hymnals and are made popular just like so many songs that we've heard today. Okay, so now what I want you to do in step number 2 is, again, practice the right hand, practice the bass clef. You should know the bass clef, okay? It's good to know. And then, of course, start to play with chords. Just play chords and then try to put it all together. And I'll see you in step number 3, where we're going to learn how to take that chord and embellish it and go even further with it.
Review step 2. Number 1, remember your posture. Number 2, bass clef is your left hand. Number 3, the left-hand notes on the lines are G, B, D, F, A. On the spaces, A, C, E, G. Number 4, the musical staff is divided into measures. Number 5, chords can be 3 or 4 notes played together at the same time. Number 6, the right hand is melody. The left hand is accompaniment. Number 7, after just 2 steps, you're already playing your first song.
Hi, and welcome back to step number 3 of my no-nonsense piano method. Actually, there was something wrong in this picture. It was the way I was using the pedal. You just don't see people playing the piano like this, and there is a correct way to use the piano. You know, I just want you to know I changed my shirt just because the lights here get so warm. But anyhow, let's continue along with, don't forget to sit up straight first of all, okay? Because posture is important. Of course, everything is important. Now, in order to use the pedal correctly, you have to keep your heel on the floor and pump the pedal up and down with the ball of your foot. Now, if you have a regular 88 keyboard at home, a console or a grand whatever, you'll usually have 3 pedals. The one on the right is the one we're interested in, okay? It's because it makes your playing sound so good. If you have an electronic keyboard, there's usually a button that says sustain, and it's actually doing the same thing as your pedal would do on a standard keyboard. Okay, now, in order to use the pedal correctly, you push the pedal down, which is the right pedal, with the ball of your foot, and keep your heel down and pump it up and down, okay? Now, don't keep your bench so close, because if you keep the bench close, you don't have any room to work with, or your hands can't work. So keep the bench back, sit up, and pump the pedal up and down a few times just to try it. Actually, what that's doing is letting the felts release from the strings. As soon as you press that pedal down, which is called the damper pedal, the felts are released from the strings, so therefore the sound continues. As soon as you let the pedal go, the felts hit the strings. Now there's a pedal marking I'm going to show you in a few seconds on the music, okay? But I want you to hear Scarborough Fair. I'm going to play the first couple of measures using the pedal correctly, all right? Now that's using the pedal correctly, okay? Now here's Scarborough Fair keeping the pedal down. I'm afraid to say that sometimes beginners remember to put the pedal down, but they forget to release it, okay? And in piano music, actually the rule for the piano is to change the pedal every time you have a new chord symbol, okay, which I'll show you in a second. Now, here's the pedal down, and I'm keeping it down. Listen to the difference.